Hi, I'm Stephen Reich here at the Columbus Convention Center in Columbus, Ohio, at the Pokemon North American International Championships 2018. I'm here with Rhea Sylvia, who has a very wonderful outfit as Vaporeon that she's brought to this year's convention. And Rhea, we just kind of want to ask a few questions. First of all, where are you from, and how'd you get into Pokemon?
I'm from Washington, D.C., and I got into Pokemon actually only a couple years ago. I went to a regional competition with some of my friends just to watch, and it was so much fun, and I thought the people were very friendly, so I wanted to give it a shot, and that's how I got into Pokemon.
All right, well, I guess the next question we got to ask here is what made you choose to cosplay as Vaporeon for this year's event?
I try to go for a Pokemon that would be recognizable, given that there are hundreds of them. You don't want to go with something obscure. This year I chose This year I chose Vaporeon because I like to look at YouTube videos for inspiration, and I saw a tutorial for these, what they called mermaid ears, and I thought it would be perfect for Vaporeon, so I built a whole costume around that. I actually created this collar. It's inspired by the same tutorial as the ears.
All right, well, there are several pieces of this costume. Let's start off with the dress. Is this an off-the-shelf dress, or how did that come about?
That's a good question. So with cosplaying, there are different specialties, and I'm more of a prop maker. That's my specialty. So with clothes, what I usually do is I buy pieces that are similar to what I would need, and then I modify them. So for example, with the top, I bought it, and then I dyed it the color that I needed. And then with the skirts, I just bought several skirts, cut them up, and sewed them back together to get the pattern that I wanted.
Okay, well, let's I guess move up then. The next thing you've got is around your shoulders. You've got this sort of, I don't know what the biological term is for that in like fish or whatever it is. But why don't you describe what that is and how you made it?
Sure. So the collar, I had an idea that I really wanted it to look like it's floating, because I thought it would just be really interesting if it wasn't really attached to any other piece of clothing. So it took a little bit of trying it out on and off, fidgeting with the wires to make sure that it just contours my shoulders and it just sits on top of me. It's not attached to anything. And then in terms of how I made it, if you look up the tutorial for how to make mermaid ears on YouTube, I followed that same pattern in terms of making the sort of skeleton out of wires and then stitching fabric around it.
And is there a similar process you went through for the stuff like right behind your ears there, the little fins or whatever you've got around there?
Yes, absolutely. It's the same process.
Okay, and then I guess you just got a standard wig there. Is that what that is? And or did you actually dye all your hair? It looks like you got a little stuff under there, so I can't quite tell.
It is a wig, but what I did is I bought just a long wig, and so all the braiding I did myself, and then I hairsprayed it to make sure that it really stays in place.
The other thing the folks at home might have noticed is that there's actually a decently elaborate makeup job here, starting with sort of the scales on your forehead and cheek. How did you sort of achieve that?
So that is actually really easy. What you do is you use a hairnet or fishnet stockings, and you hold that against your face, and then you use eyeshadow of the color of your choice to create the scale pattern. What actually took the longest in my makeup is blocking out my eyebrows, because that takes several layers of glue to make it smooth, and so that can take a couple hours if you're getting them to dry properly.
And you have a few other things. Looks like there's some glitter on there, as well as some lip gloss or whatever, or what is that exactly?
It is lip gloss. I was trying to go for a very fishy, alien-y, less human look, I guess, because Vaporeon is obviously a Pokemon, not a human, and so hence the blocking out the eyebrows and more of a skin tone lip gloss.
And did you do anything with your eyes to make them look a little more fish-like, for lack of a better term?
I'm wearing large black contacts, and I guess that wasn't so much for the fish-like effect so much as Vaporeon has sort of blackout eyes.
All right, well, you weren't just here to show off your costume. You actually played in the video game competition. How did that go for you? First of all, what kind of team were you using for this year's event?
I was using I guess mostly Pokemon that many people have seen here. I had Tapu Fini Incineroar, Kangaskhan, and Zapdos. Obviously, I had other two, Landorus and Gothitella, but I didn't use them as much. The matches went okay, you know. Since I've only started a couple years ago, I didn't really expect to place very high, but I won some of them, and I'm very excited and I'm very happy.
Anything else you're looking forward to over the next weekend?
I'm looking forward to catching up with some friends. Some of them live in Ohio, so this is a great opportunity to see them. Also, my good friend Ian Lutz, he is the Lunatone guy. You might know him as that in the Pokemon community. He's also here, so I'm just looking to catch up with my friends.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Rhea. This has been Stephen Reich from the Columbus Convention Center in Columbus, Ohio, at the Pokemon North American Internationals 2018.